folks, welcome back, and if you're new here, welcome for the first time. My name is Danae and this is the Acadian Garden and Apothecary. So today we're going to talk about something that I think is genuinely one of the most overlooked topics in herbalism, and that is herb quality and storage. So this is also one of the most common questions that I'm asked, like, okay, the herb's medicinal, but how do I dry it and how do I store it so that it continues to have its medicinal potency? And this is a really important topic because that cup of chamomile tea that you might have in a tin in your medicine cabinet or just in your kitchen cabinet, it honestly might not be doing any of the things it medicinally claims on the packaging. And this is also one of the reasons that clinical studies on herbs sometimes come back inconclusive, which we did talk about in my most recent valerian video, so go check that out if you haven't already. So we're going to talk about what happens to your herbs after they leave the plant and why it matters so much. And most importantly, what you as a real person with a real home and a real budget can do to make sure when you are harvesting your herbs or purchasing your herbs that you're getting stuff that actually has medicinal value. So to understand why storage matters, we first have to understand what we're actually trying to preserve when we store an herb. And that brings us to a concept that I absolutely love, which researchers in the field of pharmacognosy, that's basically the science of plant medicine, called a phytochemical orchestra. So the idea is that a medicinal herb isn't just one chemical doing one job, it's dozens, sometimes hundreds of compounds. Think your alkaloids, flavonoids, terpenoids, that's a lot of oids, essential oils. These are all working together in harmony. And when we make a tea or a tincture, we're trying to capture that whole symphony of chemistry and bring it into our bodies. The problem is that the moment a plant is harvested is also the moment herbal medicine begins to lose its potency. So light, heat, moisture, oxygen, these are all actively breaking down those compounds from the second the herb leaves the ground. And the science here is pretty dramatic. One study on a plant called Piper betel, which is it's a medicinal herb that's used widely in Asia, found that when it's stored at room temperature with light exposure, some of its key compounds or constituents broke down completely within just 5 weeks. And even under refrigeration in the dark, the herb was losing measurable antioxidant potency with a half-life of about 62 days. So that means within 2 months, even under good conditions, you've potentially lost half of your herb's medicinal powers. So just think about the herbs that are sitting in your cabinet right now. How long have they actually been there? I think most people, myself included, probably have a jar or a box of something we bought at a store that we intended to use that's been sitting there for 1, 2, maybe even 3 years. So I'm going to share the research on those types of herbs and how long they're viable. So whole dried plants, and these are the ones that still look like the plant, these generally stay potent for up to 3 years if they're stored well. So once you start to grind them into a powder, it drops to about 6 to 12 months. And this is because the increased surface area dramatically speeds up oxidation. And oxidation is just what happens when oxygen interacts with weaker chemical bonds. So again, think about your herbal teas and the little paper satchels. These are essentially powdered herbs, and of course they're stored in cardboard boxes. They're sitting on store shelves for who knows how long, and they have little to no protection from oxidation. So this is a big deal, and it's incredibly important for those of us who are serious about using herbal medicine well. Form matters. The way an herb is processed before it gets to you has an enormous impact on whether it still contains those medicinal compounds at all. And so the truth is, most of our favorite store brand teas, they may taste good and they're definitely a welcome comfort, but their medicinal benefits are almost non-existent. Later in this video, I'm going to share with you where you can get quality herbs that have not lost their medicinal benefits so that you can get the most out of your herbal medicine making. But first, if you are growing your own herbs, let's talk about how you're going to handle those plants like a seasoned herbalist. So let's talk about how herbs are dried, because this is where most of the potency is either won or lost. So research consistently shows that freeze drying, which is technically called lyophilization, it's kind of the gold standard for preserving things like polyphenols and heat-sensitive compounds like your essential oils. So studies on sage, for example, showed that freeze-dried sage contains significantly higher levels of its key compounds compared to conventional conventionally dried sage. Freeze drying is expensive and it's very energy intensive, and it's not really realistic for most home herbalists, and that's completely okay. I've been an herbalist for almost 10 years at this point, and I've never used a freeze dryer, and I've still had great success with my remedies. So for those of us who are drying at home, the research does give us some very actionable guidance. We'll talk about shade drying and sun drying. So shade drying consistently outperforms sun drying for herbs whose medicine lives in their essential oils. So think like lavender, rosemary, thyme. Sun drying, the UV light and the heat are going to degrade the essential oils. In fact, one study on the medicinal herb Stachys lavendulifolia found that shade-dried herbs retained 2.5 times more essential oils than the same plant dried in the oven at 60 degrees Celsius, so 2.5 times more. In this case, shade drying definitely wins over oven drying. You can emulate shade drying if you have a proper herb electric dehydrator by setting your device to 95 to 105 degrees Fahrenheit and just making sure that your dehydrator is set up in a cool, dark space. Another interesting thing that the research has found is that drying herbs on the stem without actually stripping the leaves off can increase the concentration of beneficial compounds as compared to just drying the loose leaves. So the thinking here is that the intact stem allows the plant to continue moving and concentrating those compounds during the early stages of drying while the plant is still alive. So the next time you harvest, you can consider hanging whole branches. All right, so now let's talk about the different forms your herbs can take, because I think this is where the practical herbalist really needs to pay attention. So herbal teas are considered your least stable form of herbal medicine. And so that's an aqueous preparation, meaning that it's water-based, and it's really only viable for like 24 to 48 hours before, microbial growth becomes a problem. And that's fine. Teas are absolutely wonderful. It's one of my favorite ways to make herbal medicine. But it also means that a cup of tea that's made from fresh herbs that you grew in your garden is genuinely different from a satchel of dried herbs that's been sitting on your shelf, kind of like we discussed before. But I personally like to make pre-made tea blends so that I have them ready to go when I need them. And I imagine you probably do too. So just stick around and I will show you how to make your pre-made herbal tea, your dried tea blends last that much longer. But first, let's finish up talking about our other herbal preparations. Your tinctures and your infused oils. So tinctures are the most stable long-term preparation that you can make at home. So alcohol is both a solvent, meaning that it pulls the beneficial constituents from your herbs into the solution that you'll be administering as medicine. And it's also a preservative. So a properly made tincture with an alcohol concentration of about 25% can remain potent for years, even decades. Research also suggests that using dried herbs for tinctures often produces more consistent results. If you're using fresh herbs, those have water, and by introducing that water into your alcohol, it can reduce its effectiveness and potentially its ability to be preserved. There are some exceptions, so some herbs really should be tinctured fresh, but just as a general rule, dried is more reliable. If it's recently dried within the last few days or so, it's still medicinally viable. You're probably not going to make a good herbal medicine by trying to tincture, say, some boxed herbs from your local grocer. All right, so infused oils and salves, these are a bit more vulnerable than tinctures because they're much more susceptible to oxidation and rancidity, especially if any moisture gets in. This is why you'll probably hear many herbalists say to use thoroughly dried herbs in oils. Even a little bit of residual moisture can introduce conditions for mold. So stored properly in a dark, cool place, a well-made infused oil has a shelf life of about 1 year at room temperature, or up to 3 years if it's refrigerated. All right, so we're gonna get real and practical. You don't need to have a pharmaceutical lab to store your herbs. Here's all you need to do. So my very first tip is to just, if you can, keep your herbs whole. Don't grind your herbs into a powder until you're actually ready to use them, because every time that you increase the surface area, you're also increasing how fast those herbs oxidize and break down. Second, I would recommend using glass jars, especially amber jars. So amber glass jars block UV light, which is the primary driver of compound breakdown, followed by moisture. Clear glass jars look absolutely beautiful on the shelf, but they are actively degrading your herbs in sunlight. So amber glass is pretty inexpensive and it is reusable, and this is genuinely one of the best investments you can make for your home apothecary. Of course, when I got started, I was using just clear glass jars for years, and you can use assorted jars or thrifted jars. You really don't have to make it terribly complicated. The trick here is just to make sure that you are keeping those jars somewhere that is cool and dark. Which brings us to my next recommendation. Store in a cool and dark environment. Not above the stove, not in your windowsill. I think I have an old video that shows how to set up a windowsill apothecary. Great creative ideas, but nothing I would recommend now. So you just want to make sure that you're storing everything away from heat and light, ideally somewhere that stays between 25 degrees Celsius or about 77 degrees Fahrenheit. Next, you want to label everything with a date, and I cannot stress this enough. Even properly stored herbs do have a shelf life, so you want to make sure you're rotating your stock and using your old herbs first, or composting whatever's past its prime. This is really just a good herbalist practice. I never keep any of my dried herbs past 1 year. And then finally, you want to make sure you keep moisture out. So you can do this with a desiccant package in a jar of dried herbs if you have, moisture fluctuations in your house. Moisture is another one of those ways that will degrade an herb very quickly and will also potentially introduce things like mold. And finally, here is my pro tip. Invest in a mason jar vacuum sealer. So you can actually find my favorite brand listed in my Amazon store. This tool is absolutely amazing for lots of things really, but I especially love it for storing my dried herbs. So it removes the oxygen from the jar, helping those herbs to stay fresh for much longer. I actually love this thing so much that I own 2 of them. This is not sponsored, or they're not asking me to say this, but you can check out my Amazon store to find that product. I found it amazingly useful. Now, maybe you live in a city and you don't really have room to grow your own herbs. That's fine. There are actually 2 really great companies that specialize in herbs that are sold for use medicinally, that take all of the storage best practices into consideration. Okay, so where can you buy herbs that you can actually trust? The honest answer is that this takes a little bit of research, and I always recommend that you buy herbs that are grown regionally. So I'm going to focus on 2 US companies because that's where I live. So I'm going to share 2 herb companies that I recommend again and again in the comments section, and this goes beyond just like good reviews. So the first is Mountain Rose Herbs out of Eugene, Oregon. So if you are a maker, somebody who wants to blend your own teas, to make tinctures, craft salves, this is your place to go. Everything they sell is certified organic, and if organic isn't available, they require ethical wild crafting documentation from their harvesters. They're also a true zero waste facility that's powered by renewable energy, and they hold a Fair for Life certification, which means that the farmers that they source from globally are being paid and treated fairly. So for the home herbalist, they are absolutely the gold standard for buying bulk dried herbs. That's Mountain Rose Herbs. So the second is a company called Gaia Herbs, and they are based in Brevard, North Carolina. And they actually grow a significant portion of what they sell on their website on their own 270-acre certified organic farm. I think what's really cool about Gaia is that they have this Meet Your Herbs traceability platform where every single product has an ID number on their website, so you can actually go and see where that herb was grown, when it was harvested, and the batch specific lab results are shown as well. That's the kind of transparency that's pretty much unheard of in this industry, so definitely would recommend Gaia Herbs. I also just want to say that neither of these companies are paying me to say this. They just genuinely are great places to source medicinal herbs. So here's the takeaway I really want you to leave with today. Herbal medicine is real medicine, and like any medicine, quality matters. So the reason that some of these studies on herbs sometimes come back with mixed results, sometimes it's just because the herb used in the study was poorly standardized. maybe degraded or just not very potent to begin with. So researchers have noted this specifically when looking at inconsistent results in herbs like valerian. So you've invested time and care into learning about plants, growing them, foraging them, or sourcing them. Honoring that effort with good storage practices is just the next best step. So if you want to dive deeper into making some of these preparations at home, the tinctures, teas, infused oils, I have videos and all of that. And if you found this video useful and helpful, please show your support by liking and subscribing. All right, that's all you need to know to get started on storing herbs. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.